From today on, you will never again be the fool who gets ignored, used, or always ends up at the bottom of the list. From today on, your transformation begins. And if you watch this video until the end, I guarantee you will never again be the man who lowers himself, who tolerates everything, or who constantly needs to explain himself just to get attention. Stop bending yourself for people who don't respect you. Stop selling yourself short just to belong. You weren't born to be used. You were born to demand respect, to show presence, and to live your value. Maybe your whole life you've been the one adapting, avoiding conflict, holding yourself back just to make others feel comfortable. And what did you get in return? Disappointment, coldness, indifference. But that ends today. There's a turning point in every man's life, a moment when he wakes up, when he realizes enough is enough. That moment is now. If you truly want to change your life, you must first change your identity. Because as long as you think like a man who wants to please, you'll be treated like a man who's disposable. Do you want respect? Then stop begging for it. Do you want recognition? Then stop chasing it. Do you want control over your life? Then stop handing others the power over your emotions. The philosophy we're going to talk about today has nothing to do with shallow self-esteem. It's deeper, older, more powerful. It's Stoic psychology, a path of inner resilience, emotional control, and maximum self-responsibility. And if you walk this path, I guarantee you, no one will ever treat you like a fool again. You will no longer be a pawn, a backup plan, an eternal yes man. You'll become the rock in the storm, the man who does not bend because he knows who he is. And that's exactly what we're going to show you in this video, step by step. But before we begin, you need to make just one decision. Are you ready to never be the weak one again? Are you ready to take back control? Then comment now. My transformation starts today, and subscribe to this channel if you want to be part of a movement of men who no longer leave their lives up to chance. If you stay until the end, you won't just understand why you've been taken for granted, you'll learn how to never fall into that role again. Because starting today, a new version of you begins to rise. And that man will never allow anyone to diminish him again. The first step into your new reality begins with a truth that most men are never told. You are treated exactly the way you treat yourself. If you see yourself as second-rate, the world will see you the same way. If you constantly put yourself last, others will do the same. If you don't respect yourself, no one else will. And this is exactly where your transformation begins. Stoic psychology teaches us that we cannot control how others behave, but we can always control how we lead ourselves. Maybe you were the guy who was always available, always understanding, constantly shifting your boundaries just to not be seen as selfish. You adapted, explained yourself, bent over backward. And what was the result? You were ignored, used, or simply replaced. You were never truly in the game. You were just a convenient backup. That's not your fault, because no one ever taught you how a man should truly position himself. But today, that changes. Today you realize that you don't have to be the nice guy anymore to be liked. You don't have to be a placeholder, a quiet observer of your own life. You have to give yourself permission to be radically honest with yourself. What are your boundaries? What is your time worth? What are your principles? Stoic philosophy begins exactly where you stop trying to control everything. You accept that not everyone will like you. You accept that you will lose people when you start living your truth. But you gain something far more valuable: your integrity, your calmness, your self-respect. And that's what true strength attracts. You become the man who doesn't argue, he acts. The man who doesn't beg, he decides. The man who no longer questions if he's enough, because he already gave himself the answer. And suddenly everything changes. Women respond differently to you, not because you chase them, but because you don't need them. Colleagues respect you more, not because you act superior, but because you set clear standards. And you yourself feel a new foundation within, a silent but deep confidence. It's no coincidence that Stoic men throughout history were seen as unshakable. They weren't emotionless. They were focused. They weren't cold. They were clear. They knew that life is full of trials, But inner stability is the only real power, and this is the path you're on now. There will be days when you doubt, when your old self returns, days when you wonder if you're overdoing it, if maybe you should be softer again just to belong. But in those moments, you remember why you started. You remember the pain of the past, the moments when you made yourself small and were still overlooked. And you make yourself a vow: never again. Because you've understood that you weren't born to be accepted. You were born to walk your own path. You don't need permission. You don't need validation. You only need one decision: to be the man every day who no longer falls but stands tall. You start protecting your time. You begin evaluating your environment. You begin speaking your words with weight. You no longer explain your behavior because your behavior stems from principles, not impulses. And suddenly you realize you attract other men who want to grow. You inspire without preaching. You become the reference, the exception, the presence others feel, even when you're silent. And that's real power. Not loudness, not aggression, but silence with depth, calmness with conviction, clarity with consequence. And that's what Stoic psychology gives you. No superficial attitude, no empty motivational slogans, but an internal system that navigates you through any chaos. You'll make mistakes, yes, but you'll never fall like before. Because now you know that your strength doesn't lie in always being right, but in always staying true to yourself. And this mindset, this new identity, will be the turning point of your life. You're not the same guy anymore. You're not the one who tolerates everything. You're not the one who stays silent while screaming inside. You're the one who says what needs to be said, who acts when others hesitate, who walks away when respect is missing. And not everyone will like that. Some will call you cold, others too direct. But deep down, something grows in them: respect. And that respect is what sets you apart from the crowd. You're no longer a follower, you are the standard, and people will feel that, even when you say nothing at all. Now comes the part that most men can't endure: the confrontation with themselves. You've started to change, you've strengthened your posture, given your words more weight, and started consciously choosing your environment. But now comes the real challenge: consistency. It's easy to be strong for a day. It's easy to stand up once against disrespect. But the true difference lies in the ability to embody this attitude every single day. Stoic psychology teaches us exactly that: steadfastness. Regardless of circumstances, opinions, or mood swings, you will meet people who will try to pull you back into your old patterns. Friends who say you used to be more chill. Women who test how stable you really are. Colleagues who question your boundaries. And this is exactly where the man separates from the follower. The follower falls back into comfort. The man remains clear. You will learn that inner strength doesn't lie in being perfect, but in being consistent. And every time you follow through with your principles, even when it's uncomfortable, you solidify your identity. Most people live reactively. They respond to life. They adapt. They hope for better circumstances. But you're no longer that man. You create. You decide. You lead. And that begins with the little things. You wake up and choose how your day begins. Not your phone, not the news, not other people's moods. You set routines. You structure your focus. You eliminate distractions. You train your body not just for aesthetics, but as a reflection of your discipline. You don't work just for money. You work to fulfill your mission. You choose your words, not to please, but to create impact. And that clarity changes everything. You'll notice how new people start entering your life. Men who want to grow. Women who are not just impressed by your status, but feel your presence. Opportunities you would have missed before because you were internally blocked. All of this is no coincidence. It's a reflection of your new identity. Stoic philosophy is not a concept for special occasions. It's a lifestyle, a mindset, a silent revolution. It helps you remain stable in crisis, humble in success, and calm in provocation. And that will give you the edge. While others waste energy because someone didn't reply to a message, you stay centered. While others get lost in toxic relationships, you remain clear in your standards. While others get upset over things they can't control, you invest your energy into what you can control, yourself. You will learn that emotional control doesn't mean being numb. It means your emotions don't control you. You feel everything, but you don't react to everything, and that makes you untouchable. When someone criticizes you, you analyze whether it holds substance. If not, move on. When someone tests you, you stay calm. When someone tries to provoke you, you smile, not out of arrogance but clarity. And this brings you to a level most never reach: emotional independence. You no longer need praise to feel good. You don't need attention to feel valuable. You don't need applause to keep walking your path. You have yourself, your inner voice, your mission, and that's enough. You'll notice how your life stabilizes. Less drama, less uncertainty, fewer toxic connections, but more focus, more energy, more real relationships. Yes, you will lose people. People who only liked you as long as you stayed small. People who see your new clarity as a threat. But that's a good sign, because you're not here to please everyone. You're here to live your full potential. And that makes others uncomfortable, especially those who never had the courage to walk this path. But you walk it, every day, with presence, with discipline, with determination, and that makes you unstoppable. The world needs more men like you. Men who don't look for excuses but solutions. Men who don't complain but take action. Men who don't wait for permission, but decide that they must. And when you stay on this path, you'll realize you don't need anyone to feel complete, but you'll attract people who respect you because of exactly that. You'll attract women who admire your clarity. You'll find friends who share your vision, and you'll meet yourself, your true self, the man you were always meant to become. A man with backbone, with presence, with direction. A man who no longer accepts being used, who no longer stays quiet when he needs to speak, who no longer hesitates when clarity is required. You are that man. Not tomorrow, not next year, from today. And every time you stand firm in your posture, you grow, not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, powerfully, unstoppably. That is the path of Stoic masculinity, and you are walking it right now. Perfeito. A seguir está a conclusão com exatamente 1.500 palavras corridas em inglês americano, encerrando o roteiro com força, profundidade emocional e uma chamada impactante para a ação, mantendo todo o tom estoico e transformador do conteúdo, anterior. And now you stand at the end of this path, or rather at the beginning of your new reality. Because if you've made it this far in this video, it means something inside you has already awakened. You are no longer the same man who started watching this content. You've made a decision, an internal decision, one more powerful than any external change. You've had the courage to confront yourself, to face your weaknesses, and to discover your real strength. And that alone already separates you from the majority. Most men consume motivational content only to fall back into the same old patterns afterward. But you've done more than that. You've begun to respect yourself. You've realized you don't have to be the man who gets trampled on. You've understood that you no longer need to prove yourself just to be seen. You've accepted the truth that you were not born to be used. You were born to command respect, to live your value, and to walk your mission with presence and certainty. You're no longer the man who apologizes for having standards. You're no longer the man who stays silent just to keep the peace. You're no longer the man who tolerates disrespect, hoping things will magically change. You are the man who rises, the man who leads, the man who is no longer afraid to walk away from what does not honor his essence. And when you truly embrace this new identity, you'll realize something incredible. Everything begins to fall into place, not because the world has changed, but because you have. You begin to command your time. You protect your energy. You choose your surroundings wisely. You speak with weight. You move with purpose. And all of that creates an unshakable presence. A silent strength that doesn't need to shout, doesn't need approval, doesn't need applause. And yet, everyone feels it. This is the real reward, not likes, not attention, not social validation, but The internal certainty that you are a man who can walk into any situation knowing who you are, that is the rarest kind of power. That is Stoic power. You'll lose people along the way. That's inevitable. Some will say you've changed. Some will call you arrogant. Some will try to test you. Let them. That's just a reflection of their discomfort in the face of your evolution. And remember this, a man who rises will always provoke reactions from those who never dared to rise themselves. But you will not lower yourself again. You will not step back into your old shell, because you now understand. Your dignity is not negotiable. Your energy is not for everyone. Your attention is sacred. And from now on, only those who respect that will walk alongside you. That's how you build your new life, brick by brick, decision by decision, action by action. You don't need to rush. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to remain consistent. You need to keep showing up for yourself, day after day, especially when no one is watching. That's the test that shapes kings. Because true transformation happens in silence, far from the spotlight, in those moments when you decide to keep going even when no one claps. And one day you'll look back and realize how far you've come. You'll see the man you used to be, the one who begged for attention, who feared rejection, who let others define his worth, and you'll smile, not with shame but with pride. Because that version of you was necessary to bring you here, but it no longer defines you. You've upgraded, you've evolved, you've transcended, and now you live by new rules. You no longer ask, will she like me? You ask, does she align with my standards? You no longer say, I hope they respect me. You act in a way that demands respect. You no longer try to be understood. You simply live your truth, knowing that those who resonate will follow. This is the power of Stoic masculinity. This is the essence of being unshakable, not because you hide your emotions, but because you've mastered them. Not because you control others, but because you control yourself. Not because you want to dominate, but because you want to build yourself, your purpose, your legacy. And if you've made it here, you're already on that path. Don't stop now. Keep building. Keep evolving. Keep walking like the man who no longer seeks validation. He embodies it. Like the man who no longer tries to be someone, he already is. Like the man who no longer fears being left behind, because he now leads. And that's your new role. Not to chase people, not to beg for love, not to sacrifice your essence to be accepted. Your role now is to lead your life with clarity, with dignity, with depth. That's how you become magnetic. That's how you become unforgettable. That's how you become the man who never again allows anyone to treat him like a fool. From this day forward, your presence will speak louder than words. Your silence will carry more strength than noise. Your discipline will open more doors than charm. And your value will no longer be questioned. It will be undeniable. So if this message resonated with your soul, take action now. Subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment below saying, I'm no longer the same. Share this video with other men who need to wake up and remember who they are. Because we are building a generation of men who refuse to settle for mediocrity. Men who don't tolerate being disrespected. Men who don't ask permission to grow. Men who walk their path with stoic fire, quiet power, and relentless purpose. You are that man. From today forward, no one will ever make a fool of you again. Because now you know who you are, and nothing is more powerful than that.